And welcome back to Who Would Win. I'm a little late on this one, and the what if for today and the box office will be out later today, but I gotta go to work in a little bit. But I can get this Who Would Win out pretty quick. Janet Parton asked the question, who would win in a fight, Ganon versus Sauron? And, well, you break it down a little bit, it's a bit of a fair question. I mean, they're both powerful rulers of their respective worlds. They're both very dangerous, considered to be very evil and not to be messed with. But who is ultimately going to win in a fight with these guys? Well, Ganon technically he's immortal, but he can be killed. He's specifically weak to holy weapons, and that's pretty much it. But his Triforce of Power, which is the source of his power, can be overridden or overtaxed or be canceled out. The Triforce of Power is just a massive amount of power that he has access to. He's got a large number of spells with him. The ability to do energy blasts, create a holy weapon, negate certain magics. He could transform into his demon boar form for extra power as well. Ganon is very powerful. He's, again, generally speaking, immortal, but can be killed or at least defeated with holy weaponry. I'm not a huge Lord of the Rings fan, but I have a decent amount of knowledge. But I had to look up Sauron. Now, Sauron is not human by any stretch of the means. He's part of what is known as the Maya, which are primordial spirits or near primordial spirits of Middle Earth. Gandalf, for example, is actually a Maya. He's a reincarnated as a wizard, but he's a Maya. But he's a fallen Maya. And when looking up his abilities, and I don't mean just looking at what we see in the movies, we barely see anything he's capable of. Of course, he's very powerful, obviously, in the movies, able to physically just toss men around like freaking dolls, rag dolls, and being able to control all the other rings and the ring rates and all that. But when you really break down what are Sauron's abilities overall as an individual, he was considered a worldwide threat. But what is his actual power? Well, from what I could read and find out, Sauron's real the level of threat came from his manipulation skills, his ability to deceive, his deceit. He was very capable of transformations, which allowed him to turn and change into multiple forms. I think in one fight back in, I can't remember which age it was per se, but do I actually have his, no, I don't have it up at the moment, but I could probably get it up. He was fighting an individual and transformed into no less than three or four different forms while that fight was going on. Let's see, where is that? Yeah, this was it. It was his fight with the hound known as Juan. And he had disguised himself as a werewolf, leaped to attack Luthien, another individual. Who had spying and subdued Sauron. He yielded the tower to this individual and escaped in the form of a vampire. Yes, he's got quite a list of abilities in that sense. He able to disguise himself, again, transforming in that fight to no less than 4 different forms. Its normal shape is assumed to be that of some kind of dark, terrible sorcerer, a great wolf, a serpent, and finally a vampire drinking the blood from his fangs. His level of deception, though, is required to fool the elves of Egrion. Must have gone beyond simply taking a fair form. He was literally instructing elves to make artifacts that while capable of great good, were ultimately purposed for his own domination. Again, convincing individuals to make the rings. Interesting dichotomy is set up between his deceptive nature and his symbol, which is the all-seeing eye. But that's the thing, is that it seems that his level of evil and power seem to take the form of long-term planning, deception, manipulation tactics. It's not to say that he's not without power and sorcery. It's very likely he is, but we never see him really either in the movies or in the expanded lore novels. We don't really see him use that much in terms of, Gandalf, for all intent and purposes, is theoretically capable of more magic than we've seen Sauron do. Now, that's not to say he isn't capable. Sauron beat his ass in the Hobbit movies at a fraction of his power, using his power. Apparently, fire is a big proponent of his abilities, while capable of manipulating such things. And darkness is another aspect of that as well. And we see him pretty much beat, Gandalf's able to repel the darkness, but then he just unleashes the full amount of power he had on Gandalf and just completely bitch smacked him. But at that point, other individuals were able to overpower him and push him away. Galadriel was able to force him into defeat. Because his powers are so ill-defined in many ways, we get like snippets of what he's capable of, explanations, but not a in-depth knowledge of everything he is capable of. It's difficult to really say how he'd fare in a fight. So if these two met in combat, how it would go down, because both these guys also aren't mortal. Like, Sauron is technically not mortal. He can be. We know he's eventually destroyed when the One Ring, which had a bit of his essence in there, is destroyed as well. That's why his spirit lingered. But he's still not. He's still technically mortal in that sense, but he's not mortal otherwise. He can come back. So it's difficult to say if these two met in a fight, who would win. But if these two met in a fight, what is my take on the fight? Well, from what we've seen displayed overall, Ganon has access to more power. We know that, at least from Death Bow's production, yeah, Death Bow's biased and all that. They aren't the most reliable these days. Although they do seem to generally give an answer that's a general fan consensus. Most fans tend to agree with it. They did give a good analogy that the amount of power the Triforce power has seems to be, it was created by a certain gods who made a planet, so we can generally get an idea that the Triforce of power has the amount of power equivalent to a planet. It's planetary level of power. The question then becomes, does Sauron have a planetary level of power to him? Or is it just that his influence could maybe stretch throughout the entire world, the Middle-earth? I'm more inclined to think it's that his influence could stretch to all the corners of Middle-earth, but that he doesn't have a planetary level of power per se. Also to point out the fact that even if he did theoretically have planetary level of power, he'd have to somehow overpower Ganondorf's power. And as far as we know from an age perspective, how old these guys really are, we know that Sauron, age-wise, at least when he was finally vanquished, was at race height. Oh, they don't give an age for him, actually. Birth at the creation of, death, March 3019, physical death, only immortal. Only he was immortal. So birth at the creation of Arda. So yeah, I would say that he's probably older than Ganon, but that's not really giving. I mean, he's probably got a lot ages worth of experience on his belt, but again, so does Ganon. It's unfortunate and tough to say just because we don't have a good grasp of all Sauron's abilities. But I will say that the abilities that Sauron does display, Ganon also displays, and some of them onto a greater plane. Like manipulation, things along those lines. That definitely seems to be his bread and butter. Transformation, Ganon can do that no problem. And quite frankly, his transformations seem to be more powerful overall. But the ultimate problem I see with Sauron is he doesn't have anything to actually kill Ganon. He can't override his Triforce of power. He doesn't have holy relics on him, at least as far as we know. So I have to unfortunately give it for those of you who are unfortunate, for those of you who think, Sauron's just gonna he's Sauron, man. And look, it's my opinion, I know. But for those of you who are hoping I'm going to choose Sauron for this, I guess it's best Sauron. I was saying Sauron. Sauron for this. Unfortunately, I actually got to go Ganon. And the reason for that is Ganon, because Sauron doesn't have a clear weakness, but he's not immune to, like, knives, blades, axes, whatever. He's not immune to any of that. So Ganon has far more that can hurt and put down Sauron than Sauron does for Ganon. So if these two met in a combat, it'd probably be a decent them duking it out with magic and some weaponry. But ultimately, Ganon would just overwhelm Sauron with the abilities that he has, as opposed to the abilities that Sauron has. Just because Ganon pretty much has almost every ability Sauron has, and then some, whereas Sauron really doesn't have everything that Ganon has. He has his strengths, and his strengths are definitely powerful. But that's the problem with pitting up Middle-earth characters against characters outside their respective worlds. Like when someone basically said, yeah, put Tom Bombadil against Darkseid, which I did do that fight. That was a clear other smackdown on Tom Bombadil. And Tom Bombadil in the Lord of the Rings is very powerful. But outside the Lord of the Rings, you put him in just about any other like continuity or universe, there's a lot of characters that can take his ass out. And Sauron's kind of the same scenario here. Sauron is like the top dog, or at least one of the top dogs in the Lord of the Rings. Take him out of Lord of the Rings, yeah, he's just a kind of powerful dude. There's far more powerful individuals in media and culture than Sauron. And I think Ganon is one of those individuals. So this really wasn't one of those scenarios where I was able to give like an actual idea of how the fight would break down. And unfortunately, it comes to the really ill-defined abilities of Sauron. Again, there's like fire manipulation. There's manipulation in general. There's transformations. He's clearly physically powerful. He probably has other forms of magic on his side as well. But without an actual explanation of them, I can't really give a more concise answer on this, apart from Ganon can do the things we've seen Sauron demonstrate. Now I know I'm going to get people saying, oh god, dude, you're talking out your ass, do your research, blah, blah, blah. Trust me, I looked up Sauron. I did, and I didn't find much to really say he could beat Ganon. And there's one person in particular that says, oh, dude, you really need to stop talking out your ass. Dude, do your fucking research. Like, get off my case, dude. I'm one guy doing the best I can with what I have. Like, seriously, grow up. And by the way, I'm not forcing you to watch this video. No one's forcing you. If you've seen my stuff, don't like it, you don't have to keep watching my stuff. Anyway. So sorry. I don't really let people get to me pretty much at all. But it does get annoying when people say you're talking out their ass while talking out their own asses. So, yeah, I don't know. It's just pet peeve. I digress. That's my general thoughts. I'll admit, this isn't one of my better Who Would Wins I've done, but this is the best I can kind of do with this matchup, unfortunately. Other types of matches with Sauron would probably be easier to do, but yeah, unfortunately, this is one that, also, I'm a little on a crunch time, so that might be part of it. But this is the video I'm going with. I stand by what I make. Very rarely will I, unless I'm interrupted, very rarely will I redo a video. So until then, though, thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed. Like, comment, share, subscribe. As always, you want us to review something, put in the comments below. Let us know. We'll do a review of it at some point. I'll be back with a what if for today, which is going to be a new one, and the box office later today as well when I get back from work. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. Later.